Nadine Zawi says that teachers have a duty to inform parents if their child is transgender.
Yeah, that's despite a recent survey which found nearly 1 in 5 teachers wouldn't tell a parent if the pupil changed their gender identity. So, here's the question. Should schools inform parents if their child is transgender? Joining us now is teacher and transgender campaigner Debbie Hayton. And we have human rights campaigner Peter Tatchell with us as well. Thank you so much both for joining us this morning. It sparks a real debate and interest from our viewers. And I have to say, Debbie, the majority of whom parents are saying they wouldn't want the teachers to share the information their child had confided in with the teacher, because their children, and lots of these are parents of transgender children, the children will tell them when they're ready. Is that your take on this?
Well, my take as a teacher is that schools should share significant details of significant events in children's lives. Schools should share that with parents. That's the way we operate for everything else. That's the standard practice across the school, is that if a child discloses something to you, my basic training as a teacher is to assure the child I'll listen to them carefully, and then I report it within the school using the normal procedures. I don't get on the phone in some uncontrolled way, but we do report it within the school. And if there's significant issues in children's lives, then parents need to be informed with that, so that parents and schools can work together to support the child.
And it's really interesting because I think the instinct as a parent is to want to know everything about your child, because you don't want them to be in the dark about anything. You want to be there to support them. But Peter Tatchell, you know, it's a complicated issue, because even if you think you're an open, liberal parent and you're there for your kids might have a slightly different view of you, and we might not like that about ourselves, but they might. And in those circumstances, should the school be a place of complete privacy and safety for that child? Or, as our other guest says, actually parents need to be involved as early as possible in that child's development?
Well, first of all, the number one priority is what is in the interests and welfare of the child. That must come first. Having said that, children do have a right to privacy like everyone else. And if we turn to a situation where teachers become spies and snitchers, it will break down trust between teachers and pupils. Pupils won't feel confident in divulging things to teachers because they will fear that they will be snitched on. It could, of course, put some trans children at risk if parents are informed without the consultation and agreement of the child. So there are a minority of parents who are very hostile to having a trans child. And we know from experience that some trans children are subjected to emotional and psychological bullying by parents to try and stop them being trans. So informing on the child could put the child at risk from those kinds of parents. The final point I'd make is that obviously it would be ideal for parents to be informed, but teachers should consult with the child. What does the child want? Would it be safe to tell their parents? And in which case, if the child is happy about it, maybe the best thing is for the child to be present when the issue is discussed with the parents and the teacher. That, I think, is probably the best approach.
Yes.
But no approach is perfect.
No, and Debbie, how do you view that then? I mean, the idea that the Education Secretary that says that there's a duty on teachers to inform the parents seems like quite a blanket instruction, if you like, or a blanket guidance, whereas clearly each individual child has an individual relationship with themselves and with their parents. And so to say that there's a duty across the board, is that too broad and not detailed enough for you in terms of looking after the individual needs of the child that's, having some developmental issues that they feel concerned about themselves?
Well, I think we need to be careful about language here about teachers informing parents. It sounds like as if teachers get on the phone. That's not the way that we work. I do agree with Peter that the best approach is for a controlled disclosure when the child is comfortable, the school is comfortable, and the parents are called in. That's the best approach. If we keep secrets, which is effectively what the argument is, if we keep secrets, we risk an uncontrolled disclosure. Lots of people are in on this secret, people across the school, hundreds of children in the school may be in on the secret, all the teachers are in on the secret, but the parents are kept out of that secret. And we're risking the parents finding out in some uncontrolled manner, perhaps from a family friend, perhaps from another child. How does that potentially help a child? And the thought that's going through the child's head that that may happen at any time, that's no way to support a child at all.
And have you, in your counselling, I don't know if that's the right word, or your conversations with your students, perhaps who've gone through it, what is your thread to them? Is it that, that, you know, at some point we have to tell your parents, or is it that I want you to... Do you sort of try and let them tell you when they're ready to tell their parents? Do you see what I mean? In the sense that you have to keep that counsel, don't you? You have to let them open themselves up to you without, as Peter says, letting them think that you're going to snitch on them.
Well, it's not snitching; it's supporting, and this is the issue. My comment on this is that transgender identification is no different to any other significant issue in a child's life, and we should treat them under exactly the same policy. Which is, as a teacher, I report the concern within the school. The school teachers are actually trained in these issues, and then make a decision on how best to inform the children, how best to inform the parents. But to move forwards by keeping a secret from parents is just risking an uncontrolled disclosure at any time, and that means that children are at risk.
And just to be clear, are you saying that when you go through the process that the school might decide it's time to tell the parents, and in a way, even if the child isn't quite ready for that to happen?
Well, there may be a situation in school where everybody knows in school and it's becoming gossip around the school. And for the school then not to tell the parents and not to inform the parents is it's not taking responsibility for the situation. It's waiting for another child, perhaps, in the class to tell parents.
That's an important point, isn't it, Peter? When you understand that the news could get out beyond the teacher or the child's control.
Well, I think we have to listen to the child. What do they want? What do they feel comfortable with? And we need to be aware that there are, sadly, a minority of parents who hate having trans kids. Absolutely. And we know that in some instances, they have been forced to go to very aggressive physical exorcism sessions to try and stop them being trans. This is a form of child abuse, and that is absolutely wrong. So we need to be aware that some children may be vulnerable to that. But of course, ideally, we do want the parents to know and be involved, but it has to be on an individual assessment, and we have to listen to the child. Wow. Child will make that decision. They will inform, and then hopefully the parents, the teachers and the child can get together. It
definitely feels more nuanced than a blanket instruction from the Education Secretary to say it's a duty. We're going to have to leave it there, but Peter Tatchell and Debbie Hayton, thanks for joining us.
Interesting, isn't it?
Lots of you getting in touch. Janice says, I would not want my child's teacher to inform me of something my child has told them in confidence. My son only managed to tell me about his feelings when he was 18. This must have been the hardest thing for him to do. He now presents as my daughter. He is happier than ever. Laurie says, my transgender daughter came out to us when she was ready to. If she had spoken to a trusted teacher before us, then I do not believe it would have been right for them to break her trust unless they believed her to be at risk. Kez says, as a mum to a transgender child, no, my child knew they could tell me, but many were not as lucky. The only time is if the child asked the teacher to help them to tell the parents, but otherwise, no. And it goes on. Lots of you who have this experience all say it's all about the child telling them when they're ready, and the teachers have to respect that confidence.
Yeah, it's really fascinating.
Thank you for all your comments.